Welcome to Making Eating Healthy Again, the podcast where we simplify the complexities of modern nutrition and guide you back to the basics of wholesome eating. In today's world, dietary recommendations become a maze of conflicting advice and overwhelming research and trending fads that make eating healthy feel more like an unsolvable puzzle. Each day brings new headlines on superfoods, diet plans, and miracle supplements, leaving us more confused than ever about what we should really be eating. Join us as we cut through the noise to uncover simple, science-backed practices that can transform your health, delight your taste buds, and make eating healthy a joyous journey once more. Whether you're a seasoned foodie or just beginning your quest for better health, we've got you covered with insights, motivational stories, and practical tips. I'm Woody Huffines, and I am fortunate to be able to join registered dietitian Danielle Carr each week to talk to you about how you can make eating healthy again.
We're back.
We're back.
Been a long time.
Well, and I was thinking on the way over this morning, since you and I sat down, I bought a new truck.
Oh, congratulations.
I got hearing aids.
Okay, right.
That's
Probably a game changer.
Several life-changing. Well, that's why I was running so late this morning. I'm in the process of learning my new truck. You know, all of the, there's like computer on wheels.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through all the stuff on my truck, and with the hearing aids, I found out that there's another feature on the truck that I didn't know I had, which is when you turn on the turn signal, it makes a little clicky sound.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. You didn't have that before?
Well, I probably had it before. I just couldn't hear it without the hearing aids.
Oh, right. Didn't tie that joke together. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was like,
that is
whoa,
like a...
check it out. It's got a little clicky sound.
Yeah, dang.
So,
did you know your hearing was that bad?
In
denial.
Well, okay. And when my granddaughter, I've gotten 8 granddaughters, and they all have voices like robins. Little like little sparrow voices, and they call me Dubby. And I was like, you got to look at Dubby's nose when you talk to him.
Oh.
I was getting ready to come over here this morning to the studio, and I threw a bunch of towels in the wash or the dryer, a bunch of microfiber towels that I was using to clean up the new truck, and the dryer's making this funny noise, and I'm turning it on, turning it off, and looking behind it and seeing if there's a problem. So I go get Cindy to say, can you tell where this is coming from on the dryer? And she said, where what's coming from? And there was another sound that the dryer made that was real high frequency that I'd never heard until just today.
And she's like, it's always been like that.
It's always been like,
well, this is going to be...
I guess I couldn't hear that part.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of those. And how important that is.
Well, and the other thing, and there's, one of the reasons that I'm low carb, and one of the reasons that I tend to carnivore, is the increasing evidence that that metabolic dysregulation is a significant cause or significant contributor to dementia and Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been around dementia and Alzheimer's, and there is nothing that scares me more than dementia and Alzheimer's. Nothing.
I also think that is something that many people are starting to see, which I'm very thankful and glad that people are starting to realize that. I think we've said this before. Oh, I need to care about my brain, because we don't see it. We think our brain it does the work, right? It's there. We don't even understand, like, you're feeding your brain, right? Your gut and your brain are directly connected. Everything you feed your gut goes straight to your brain. That's why we can think well or worse, or that's why there's type 3 diabetes now, which is Alzheimer's, because of your insulin response, insulin resistance, a lot of what we talked about. And especially like we talked about last time, I think that was last episode about AUGs,
Yeah.
the glycolated end products, and how, it just forms these clusters in your brain when you have those high sugar episodes, and these little clusters, little roadblocks in your brain that are making everything not fire. There's a lot into that, but eventually.
And the glycated end products, back to Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the other big risks of Alzheimer's and dementia is the social component of the people that withdraw, and they don't have people to talk to, and they are socially withdrawn. And even if you're around people, if you can't hear, it is effectively the same as being socially withdrawn. And there's, again, Ken Berry, Dr. Ken Berry talks about this, and we'll talk about macros today when we get through catching up. One of the things that Georgia Eads talks about, that Ken Berry talks about, is your brain is connected to the rest of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And your psychology and your emotional state are tied to your brain. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that it's very difficult to talk to people about when you start talking about keto or low carb is that if they say, yeah, I suffer from gout, I don't know what to do with that. And the answer, in my opinion, is, well, low carb. My mood changes a lot. I'm a little depressed. Try low carb. I'm having, it's like it's this panacea.
Yes.
And that's the first step, I think, and we've talked about that first step, is managing the carbohydrates that you intake and how many that you intake, which is all about where this train gets started in a way, is the macronutrients. And how do you start managing your macronutrients to do the things that you need to do? As there's a long string of other pieces of nutrition that you're certainly more expert than I am about, the essential amino acids and the vitamins and the minerals and all the stuff that you need to do to be healthy. But all of that starts with managing your macros. Would you agree with that? That's where it starts, is getting the macros in a position that you can be healthy.
I do agree that that's where it starts. A lot of people, we think, okay, we need to know how much protein we need to get, how much fiber, how much fat, how much carbohydrates. And many people are really focused on, can I just have a plan of exactly what I need to eat and just tell me what my macros are? But it's so different for so many people, because I do believe in low carb as well. I'm the same way. I'm like, but how many carbs are you eating? And carbs aren't necessarily the devil, right? It's more, they can just be more the trigger. They're not the enemy, they're the trigger, which we'll get into all that. But I think it's more about how our body responds with these macronutrients, how our hormones are responding. And that's really what it's about. It does matter, like how you need to get enough protein, right? I think the average woman gets or older woman, I would say maybe 30s and up, not older, 30s and up would get maybe like 60 grams of protein a day, which is far-fetched from what we actually need to get. And so protein matters, getting enough carbohydrates, whether it's smaller or you need enough. Yes, that all matters. But I think I just start this because so many people will think I'm going to track my macros and that's all I'm going to do. And people want to work with me to track macros. I'm like, I'm not your person. I do want to look at them. I highly recommend like getting into MyFitnessPal, looking at things so you can see how much protein, how many carbs are there. But we need to figure out your macros based on how your body's responding and how your hormones are responding.
So I use Chronometer.
Yes, I love that. I did some research on Chronometer because I've never used it before.
And I really like Chronometer. So when we talk about mastering macros, Dr. Ben Bickman, who's a bioenergeticist at Brigham Young University, look up Ben Bickman, Bikman.
Okay.
And he likes alliterations as I do. So his first step, if you want to start getting healthier through what you eat, his first step is to prioritize proteins, which falls very much in line with what you're saying. Is that his view is that the first building block of what we do is the proteins, which are the things that repair and replace. In fact, in one video of his, he was like, I'm not sure that we should even include protein in the energy count. It's like,
what does he mean
if
by
your
that?
body's doing what it should be doing with protein,
Yeah,
it's really not a source of energy. It's a source of energy. There is caloric content. There's caloric content to protein. Okay?
Yes.
No question. There is a caloric content to protein. But the question is the caloric content of protein providing energy to do things? Or is the caloric content of protein, or is the protein really just fixing things and maintaining the body? And that however many calories that is, you shouldn't even worry about it, because that's in poker, we would call that opening stakes. Okay.
So yeah.
There is nothing else that you can do that's good if you're not getting enough protein to keep your body repaired and healthy. then what you do with carbohydrates or what you do with fats is really immaterial. And just so he was kind of making the point that the caloric content of protein is immaterial to what it is that you're doing. It's critical that you get the amount of protein that you need.
Yes. So, okay, yes, that's a good one. I actually brought a little demo for people. Remember this. Thank God for kid toys. Because when I think about demos, I'm like, oh, just grab this. Like I did the building blocks last week. I'm sure I come up with other like bigger things, but this is here and this is what we got. But I only do this to remind people and to like show people the example. Your protein, there were only this many magnetiles that had bricks on them. But your protein is that is what builds and repairs your body. Your body, your enzymes, hormones, skin, the muscle fibers, your muscle growth, all of that depends on our protein. So what he was saying, did you say Bickman is his last name? Our body needs that. And if it doesn't get it, it's not like it's not going to survive, but it's going to eat off of your muscles and you'll see muscle wasting, which you can see that in people. So this is what you need. Yeah, you need those protein. The more protein you get, right, the better that these builders and bricks are going to help your body.
Right.
If not, it's, you've got it all wanky. It's all going to fall over. And again, I really just use this just for a reminder when people think, maybe when they play with your kids and magnetiles, they're thinking, am I getting enough protein in the day? Of course, I'm going to think that now. But it's so important. And again, like we said, a lot of people, maybe women get about 60 grams, especially women and men that are over 35 years old. We even more need to watch our protein because we lose so much muscle mass every year. I mean, we can lose like at least 1% minimum, at least 1% every year. You could lose that even every month. But as we get older, especially 50, 60, 70, we go into sarcopenia and we lose that muscle mass. And the RDA recommends 0.8 grams per kilogram a day, which is what I've always learned through college. And I don't know when this was, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I really realized that's not enough. That's it, not for what I'm seeing with clients.
Well, we had a brief exchange because I started working out. I was lifting weights and doing things, and so I asked the AI how much protein I should be, given my age at 65, and I was going to start lifting weights. What kind of protein intake should I be considering to make sure that I had enough protein that I could build muscle? And I shared this with you, but it was that the title of the report that the AI wrote was protein in elderly weightlifters. And I was like, the elderly thing kind of hurt.
I was like, oh, you've had a lot these last few weeks.
That kind of hurt. I got to tell you, the elderly thing kind of hurt. So where do you think you need to be?
I think people need to be a minimum of 1 gram per kilogram.
Now here's an interesting question. Is that 1 pound per kilogram of current weight, or is that 1 gram per kilogram of current weight, or 1 gram per kilogram of target weight, or 1 gram per kilogram of healthy weight from the insurance tables?
Yeah, deal. I would say your target weight. Now, with you, I did yours a little bit higher. I don't know why I did. I got to remember back because you were starting to. Oh yeah, you were newly exercising. Because you follow more carnivore keto.
Yeah. So
yours was a lot higher. There used to be studies that it could hurt your kidneys and
I don't know that there were ever studies that said that it hurt your kidneys. I think there was that was one of these things that the doctor believed. It's like the 8 glasses of water a day. There's not a study that says that. You just made that up.
Yes, I won't go into like the political side of what I think about that, but I don't. That was just kind of really said out there. As long as you're getting enough water, especially to excrete it, and you're not having that uric acid buildup, I think we're good.
Well, and your water retention when you're eating low carb, eating carbohydrates takes up a lot of resources that you don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. Let's just keep talking about protein and prioritizing protein. So for me, I eat 1 meal a day. That one meal is usually centered around a 20-ounce ribeye steak. As a plea bargain, I'll eat the broccoli that my wife cooks or have a little piece of the salad.
Yeah.
She makes her own salad dressing, so I'm not getting seed oils through the salad dressing.
Good. I like that.
And a 20-ounce ribeye only has about 90 or 95 grams of protein.
Yeah.
I mean, a ribeye the size of the size of a manhole cover doesn't cover my protein need for the day.
No, and so with the amount of protein that you need, it does matter how much you consume at one time, because that is a lot for sure on your kidneys to start to excrete, in your brain, everything else to process, and the messengers. So some people do really well with once a day, and we won't go down this rabbit hole either. We can do a whole segment on intermittent fasting, but
I'm sure we will.
Yes,
do multiples.
Yes, let us know if you want that or what questions you have. But some people it works with. I more agree if somebody was going to do like an intermittent fasting, I still want to see at least 2 meals a day minimum and a snack, because I want your body to have certain nutrients at different times, at least in that fasting. Like when you need that much protein, that's a lot. Because you would need, like for you, I would have you, what did I say for you? Almost 200 grams of protein. I said a minimum 180.
It was like 170, 173.
And that's like, throughout the day, or even if you did this intermittent fasting, that's 4 eggs and some cheese, right? And then you could do a can of
4 and an egg, which egg for me, egg's a perfect food. It has got the macros just dialed in. But that was what was encouraging me with listening to Ben Bickman is when you eat protein. I mean, the whole idea behind managing macros for me, the fundamental thing for diet for me is managing your insulin response. That is the gold standard. That is the sine qua non. That's what we're trying to do, is manage insulin.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not getting an insulin response, then in terms of fasting, I'm beginning to think, okay, that's just fasting. And I want your opinion about that, because for me to get the number of grams of protein that I need a day, and for me to eat a low enough calorie count that I'm losing weight, is it reasonable to say that I'm intermittent fasting if I'm having a couple of big servings of bone broth during the day, which is straight up the way I make bone broth? It's straight up gel and collagen.
Yeah.
There's a significant amount of protein available through that. I've tested it. It does not create an insulin response in me, because my blood sugar is absolutely stable if I drink 12 ounces of bone broth.
Right. Okay.
So is that a way for people to prioritize the protein without giving themselves calories that they don't need?
Prioritize protein without giving them the calories they don't need. Are you meaning more also is that a way? Are you more asking, is that a way to do intermittent fasting?
A way to do intermittent fasting,
okay. And still have food?
Or a way to get to the protein requirement that you need without creating an insulin response in the interim.
Yes. However, if somebody is truly intermittent fasting, I'm still going to count that, because your body is still working. And if somebody has too much protein at one time, it's going to convert it to sugar and glucose. That's just, that can happen. There's a gluconeogenesis part of that. So yes, but to answer your question, yes. I would still want somebody, if they were really wanting to kind of watch their timing of eating, if they're not eating, they stop eating at 7 and they start eating at 10 a.m., then one of the best things you can do, and actually the only thing you should do is, I shouldn't say only thing, but the first food you should eat is protein. So a bone broth would be incredible. Collagen, eggs, like that whole protein source, amazing. Chicken, protein shake, sure, but you're going to have a glycemic index response for sure on that, or an insulin response on that.
On what?
Protein shake. Because usually got sugar in it.
There is
depending what you use.
It is very difficult to find a protein shake. Yeah, okay, and this is a dangerous rabbit hole for me to even bring it up, but there's so much processed food and garbage in so many protein shakes.
Oh my goodness!
When I traveled and I was cognizant of intermittent fasting, or I started fasting, and I started fasting extended days. I would do 72-hour fasts and things like that. But I wanted something in the hotel room so that if, at midnight 30, when I'm working on something, I start feeling bad because I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Yes.
Because everybody was freaked out. I mean, my wife was beside herself that I had not eaten in 72 hours. She's like, "You haven't eaten in 3 days?" Yeah. "Well, but are you okay?" "I'm fine." "But I mean, are you?"
Is she worried about you?
"I'm good." Well, I
would
I
be the
wasn't
same
where
way.
she was. So she couldn't see that I was not. I mean, in her mind, it was like Jesus on the cross. I mean, it's like I'm wasting away to nothing and dying because I haven't eaten in 72 hours, which is not a danger for me. And that's why I would say, I said, okay, I'll go to Costco and I'll get some of the Premier protein shakes so that I'll have some stuff there in case, because here's the thing. If you try intermittent fasting and you don't feel good, you can eat.
Yes. Right? Like
It's
listening to your body.
It's like, okay, I just eat. So I mean, I don't know how many Premier protein shake, but then I read the ingredients on a Premier protein shake, and oh my Lord.
And it's like this long.
Oh, it's horrible. I did find a protein shake, and I have tested it. I broke out the glucometer and drank drank 2 of them so that I could really try to get an insulin response. And my insulin didn't go down. I mean, my blood sugar didn't go down, which would indicate there was an insulin response.
Yeah.
And it didn't go up, which indicates that there was enough pure protein in the shake not to cause a problem. So I may have found one that you can do that with. But back to the question, is it reasonable, even if you're intermittent fasting, to find a source of protein so that you can prioritize the proteins, and in the process of mastering your macros, making that the first thing that you do every day?
Yes. Yes, 100%. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's a good, easy way. And if anybody is interested in like doing a bone broth, making your own is really the best thing. You can buy it. You really need to watch the source though. And I truly would recommend doing like a grass-fed, making sure those animals were grass-fed and a good bone broth, because the quality of protein matters too. One of the things that, well, let's talk about protein actually before I go into that. So your good sources can be, if somebody is not reactive or sensitive to it, a Greek yogurt. So you can add so much to that. Can dairy be reactive? Absolutely. But some people it really goes well for cottage cheese. And it has the leucine, lysine amino acid, which is fantastic. Obviously, chicken, beef. If you have about a 6-ounce portion of beef or chicken, so most people have about 6 ounces, which is like maybe your palm size or you're the size of your hand. That's about 42 grams of protein. That's a good amount. So when people think, "Oh, I don't know how to get my protein in,"
If you have three chicken breasts a day, you're there.
That's right. Yeah, eggs in the morning. An egg has about 6 grams of protein. So if you have 2 eggs, I would really recommend doing more than that. If you're not reactive to cheese would be a great thing to add in that. Somebody could do, well, I would actually do 3 eggs and maybe like throw in another egg white in there. So it doesn't feel like so much, but that egg white, the white is the full of the protein part. So your protein's made of amino acids. It's like a little strand of beans, right? 20 amino acids, 9 of them. You've got these essential amino acids that you have to have. And years ago, they used to say you have to have the non-essential and the essential. Essential amino acids mean that you need to get them from an outside source. Your body will not make those essential amino acids. Valine, leucine, isoleucine.
Anytime in nutrition, when you see an essential, something that's essential, the meaning of essential is that your body just can't produce it.
Yes, it is essential for you to get it from an outside source.
So B12 is an essential vitamin.
Yes.
Because your body can't make it.
Well, your body can make it, but when you're 50 and up, at 50, your body loses that intrinsic factor in that large intestine, and your body won't really start to. So
you can't make it. You can make B12?
I shouldn't say.
I mean, there are precursors that allow allow B12 to be bioavailable.
Right. That's more what I should say. Your body won't. I thank you for correcting me on that, because I did say you could. your body won't absorb it and make it bioavailable at 50 and up. So you do need to get it. And I'm really glad you corrected me on that, because I'm so used to not saying that, because most people are eating red meat, chicken, leafy green vegetables.
If you're not a vegan
and getting it,
it'd be really hard to have a B12 problem.
Yes, right.
Because it doesn't take a whole lot of red meat to get the amount of essential that you. How about vitamin C? Is vitamin C an essential nutrient?
So your vitamin, you need to get it, absolutely. And that's more a vitamin that it's water soluble. So water soluble means that you're just gonna pee it out, right?
You'll flush out the excess.
Yep. Most people, I would say pretty much everyone, you're okay on your vitamin C. Back in the day when people weren't eating, or they didn't get oranges, they didn't get citrus fruits, there was scurvy. And so they would start to deteriorate.
Only because they ate carbs.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't have scurvy. Eskimos didn't have scurvy.
That's right. Yeah.
And they sure as heck didn't have any oranges and limes above the Arctic Circle.
Right.
It's carbs that make you flush out your vitamin C. I'm just saying. Anyway, that's a good point. So the answer is, do what you need to do to get your protein. So when we talk about mastering macros, the first thing that you need to master is an understanding of how many grams of protein a day you need for your body and your age and your activity level and all of that stuff that gets you to how many grams of protein that you should have a day. And so that take your ideal weight, whatever weight, not ideal weight, your target weight, the weight at which the weight that you feel like you're going to feel good.
Yep.
So for me, that's about 220 pounds. So you say 220 pounds, and the reason I picked 220 is because a kilogram is 2.2.
Yeah, just
so it's
that was a good way to put it.
So it's 100 kilograms. So I want to weigh 100 kilograms, and 100 kilograms means that at a gram per kilogram, I need 100 grams of protein a day, baseline. And then because I'm doing some things in activity and weightlifting, we probably need to bump that up 40 or 50.
Right.
So anybody that wants to master their macros, the first thing they need to do is kind of go through that exercise and determine about how many grams of protein they need to get a day and start paying attention to that.
Yes. And yes, that's a very good starting point. Now, if somebody is, let's say we have a 35-year-old woman at 220, 250 pounds, and she wants to be 125 pounds, she should not eat based on that ideal body weight of 125, because that's not going to be enough protein to help her body. And she's probably going to be exercising more. So there's that part that matters too. If somebody's exercising, I need them to be at about 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram. Somebody that's elderly, senior citizen, I need them to be almost at about 2.2, well, not 2.2, I'd say about 2 grams per kilogram. Pregnant, they need to be about 1.75 grams. So there are different variations.
But generally,
yes. Can you tell?
It's if you're listening to the podcast, the place to start is to figure out how many kilograms you want to weigh, and then figure a gram for every one of those kilograms, and get that as a starting place. Because I think what's going to happen is, as we talked about at the beginning, people are so under-proteined, they have no idea how under-proteined they are.
Yep. And here's the easiest way to do it. If you're 150 pounds, let's say woman, just divide that weight in half. Don't worry about figuring out how many kilograms you are. That's a great way to say
divide it in half,
and 75 grams of protein.
And a gram per one.
Yep. Now, and then because I am the way I am, as you can tell, and there's so much that goes into it in somebody's body, it could be a little higher. Your body might need a little bit more. Here's the thing with protein. Right. Like we said, we're not eating enough of it, most likely. If you are not feeling well, if somebody has off menstrual cycles, if somebody's always hungry, they're tired, they have mood disorders, a lot of that can be your protein, because what protein does is it increases, or it helps that leptin hormone, which is the hormone that makes you feel full. That's your satiety hormone. It decreases the ghrelin hormone. The ghrelin's like, I'm hungry. It is, the amino acids are the precursor to the neurotransmitters of serotonin and dopamine. And those are your hormones that make you sleep, your mood, your focus, your energy. And we just forget, a lot of that serotonin's in our gut, 80% of it.
It was the most amazing thing ever that the gut microbiome produces so much of the serotonin that your body, that was just all these people that are taking serotonin reuptake inhibitors,
Yes. Right.
the SSRIs, the antidepressants.
Yeah.
They're taking those antidepressants so that it maximizes the amount of serotonin in the brain so that it inhibits the reuptake of serotonin.
Yep.
And it never occurred to anybody that maybe since the brain is connected to the body, that there's something that you could do with the body that would make the brain better, like making sure that your microbiome is fed to produce serotonin.
Yes, there's so much that goes into it. And I really believe it all starts with food. Can there be genetic stuff? Sure. But if I'm having something going on in my body now, it takes kind of years for your brain to be trained like this, in the way of like for somebody to care about their nutrition, right? When you care about it and you start looking, you start watching, you'll start to key in a lot better. I shouldn't say it takes years. It takes some time to think, okay, I'm not sleeping good. What have I eaten different? Am I eating enough protein? Am I drinking enough water as well? Because those two can go hand in hand. Am I eating throughout the day? Am I eating about 30 grams of protein per meal is a great way to look at it. So 30, 60, 90 if somebody's eating 3 meals a day. Well, right there, that might be an average person of a gram of the amount of protein.
And that's the point I think I would make is so many people are so undernourished with protein that yes, if you do the math and you talk about what you're doing and we do the complex, really go through it, knowledgeable way of eating protein, you need 135 grams of protein a day.
Yes.
Hey, the first step is realizing that you're eating 60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Get it to 100. And then maybe when you see the improvements, it's going to be easier to have that conversation that the number is really 135.
Yeah. Yeah. And a really good way to get protein in that I like to tell people is if you like cottage cheese, even if you don't like cottage cheese, and you can mix that with eggs in the morning, that is one of the easiest ways to get in 30 grams of protein like that. You just mix it up, scramble it. You can put onions and garlic and all different things, but easy, beautiful way to have that protein in the morning. Because you got to have protein first thing in the morning. Unless if somebody's intermittent fasting, I still think that first thing.
Well, and my wife and I eat essentially one meal a day. And I would prefer to eat breakfast, but our schedules are such that we do dinner together. So we cook together and we talk together and we do dinner together. And so there's a social thing that has to do that you have to make social accommodations for any lifestyle choice that you make, because if you make a decision about how you're going to be that will not work with your social milieu, if you will, you won't follow it. Yes,
that's right.
Same. So I would love to eat. The other day, I got up and I was feeling punky, and it's like I just need to eat something. Listen to your body, which is something that's hard to do if you haven't been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And I'll come back to that in a second. I got up and I ate 6 eggs and a bunch of cheese. And I scrambled up 6 eggs, a handful of grated cheese. Grate your own cheese. Don't get the pre-grated cheese.
Got some nasty enzymes in there.
Grated some cheese in it. Cut up a jalapeno pepper. Kind of made a breakfast scramble of all that, and it was like I felt so good all day by having that slug of protein in the morning that I'm like, okay, well I'm now to the point that I don't know whether I won't eat one meal a day, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that more frequently because it sure felt good.
Yeah, and your body, just like you said, your brain is using calories to think and move all day. And obviously your body is too, but your brain is using that as energy.
25% of your metabolic load is your brain.
Yeah. So why? Now, again, I understand that some people, if you were to tell me, we're working together, which pretty much right now, yes. If you were saying that is how I felt good, I'm seeing results and like it's working for me, then we untouched, right? We're not going to touch that because it's working for you. Your labs are good. You feel good. You're at your ideal, all of that. If not, then we make changes. But even before that, I do think in the morning, that's a really important thing. That doesn't mean somebody still can't fast and have their body burn that fat for fuel from even 9 p.m., even 7 p.m. to 10 or...
The Nuri, Nuri protein
Okay.
It's pre-mixed protein. So many of the protein powders, it is really difficult to find a protein powder that's clean.
Yes.
These little cans are pretty clean. And so I think starting tomorrow, I'm going to start the experiment tomorrow. Get up and have 2 cans of that, which is about 60 grams of protein first thing in the morning, and then look at blood sugar to see if I get a blood sugar response from that 60 grams of protein drink in the morning. And I'm going to do a test on that. So
I've never even heard of nuri. I want to see those ingredients.
When I get home, I'll take a picture of the can and send it to you.
Yeah, because I would say the best, if you can make it where it's not in a can or package, is going to be better.
I absolutely would prefer to do that. Absolutely would prefer to do that. I would prefer to eat half a dozen eggs every morning.
But even a protein shake. Can you do a powder protein shake that you just pour in water?
It is more difficult to find a powdered. The powdered proteins it is so difficult to find a powdered protein that doesn't have sugar and flavoring in it that's going to create a stimulus to the insulin response. The only thing that I have found is pure grass-fed protein isolate. Okay, it's not a whey isolate. It's a beef isolate of protein.
Yeah, I love that.
That's clean. Mm-hmm. It tastes like, it's like yikes.
Yeah, I think, is it Elements? I don't know what brand it is. I recommend it. I think we had talked about that. But I haven't had it myself. So I could imagine it's not the best, but you could probably mix it with stuff. I'll have to look into that.
I'd probably rather do bone broth. The bone broth is not as a complete protein.
Yeah. Well, and I really like Truvani. She's got a great, now I don't think there's any artificial flavors. I don't know how she flavors it. Cocoa, but I don't know. I know I drink it. I can't even tell you the ingredients anymore, but it's like 5 ingredients, maybe 4 on some of them. And it's just very clean.
I'll say, this is an experiment for me. I found something that's relatively clean. I'm going to do that experiment. So, and I want to harken back to something that you said that I think is really true. Or I think what you said, and you corrected yourself, your initial statement was true. When you said it takes you years to eat right. And then you went, well, it's not years. I don't know that it's not. And the reason that I say that is the nutrition science is changing now so constantly that it really, anything that I knew 10 years ago, and I know a lot more than a lot of people because I really find this fascinating and I read a lot about it, it's changing. So I think if you're going to be healthy in the long term, you're going to have to commit the mental energy to get smart about how to master the macros and continue to look at and master them, because the things that you learn as you go it's not a one and done thing.
Yeah.
If you sit down and figure out what your macros are, if you sat down with a client and they had goals to lose 50 pounds and feel better and deal with some depression issues, you would probably come up with a dietary plan to address those issues.
Right.
When those issues get addressed, what's the dietary plan that follows on to that?
Sure.
And that, I think, is why mastering your macros may be, if not a lifelong process, it certainly has to do, especially for women. If you're of childbearing years, what does that look like? You have young kids, what does that look like?
Sure.
You're perimenopausal, what does that look like? You're postmenopausal, what does that look like?
Yes.
Especially for women.
So it's a really good point to bring up. More of what I was talking about, I'm still glad you brought that up, is it takes years, and then I was correcting myself that it doesn't, or it takes time to understand and remember to listen to your body based on food. But you corrected me again. You are right, because it really, it does. And I think in my thoughts, I'm like, well, I don't want that to discourage people. But here's what it takes. You're right that it takes time. It's just like our business. You're always working on your business to get better. Things change, people change, the dynamics change, technology changes. It's unfortunate we're not thinking about our bodies in that way every day and how that's changing and am I feeling right? Perimenopause. I mean, menopause starts most likely start 10 years before that even happens. And that information's not even out there as much. So yes, you are right. It does take time. I think, we say that nutrition is a science. It is a science, but it's not only a science. There's so much more to that. Who do you have? What was your childhood like? What are the things that you tell yourselves? What are your beliefs? Who are you around? Are you married to somebody who sabotages your success? Are you around people that sabotage your success? Like there's so much that goes into nutrition, which is why when people say, "Can you just write me a plan?" Yeah, I mean, sure, not going to work. Don't put my license on it because there's so much more that goes into that. So I don't know where we got off that, but a very, very good point.
And I think it's all in how you look at it. I told you, we went to see Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Yeah.
And I don't buy concert T-shirts because they're horribly overpriced.
Yeah, just get them on Amazon.
And, it's like, we went to see, I don't remember, like the Eagles. They were a T-shirt, it's going to shrink up the first time you wear it. Silk screen printed T-shirt at the Eagles concert was like $75.
Oh my goodness!
Like, you people, did you bump your head?
Like, I want to do that for artists that I feel like I really need to support, like upcoming artists. But I don't know that.
I don't think Don Henley needs the $75.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, wow.
Anyway, Ray Wiley Hubbard had a T-shirt, and on the T-shirt it said, "The days that I keep my gratitude above my expectations, I have a pretty good day."
Yeah.
And so I'm all about managing expectations and managing the gratitude. And for me, one of the things that helps you get to where you need to go is you need to have the expectation that if you're going to manage the way that you feel through food, it's going to happen every day that you have to manage it. Because there's not a day that you're not going to eat food unless you're fasting. And there's seasons of your life that are going to change the way that you do that. So for you to go in with an expectation that this is a one and done thing, write me a plan, I'm done.
Yeah, right.
Is mismanaging those expectations. And it's going to be hard to keep your gratitude above your expectations if your expectations are high in terms of how much. It's going to be really simple for me to manage this.
Yeah.
Mastering macros is going to be straightforward. I'll go to Danny. Danny will give me a number. I got the numbers. I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not, I think it's important to manage the expectation that it's more complex than that.
Yeah. Very, very good point. And I think with nutrition, we get frustrated because we don't know, right? Or it takes that time to figure it out, or we don't want to go hire somebody and get help, which I would encourage anybody that if this is a daily struggle, why do we not go find help with this, right? If you don't know how to exercise, find the help, hire a trainer, have somebody start you in that lead step versus there's many things in life I say I'm going to do, I say I'm going to do, I say I'm going to do. And then it's just never going to happen. My husband's a really good encourager of that. He's like, you're going to say you're going to do this for 10 years if you don't just at least start. Anyway, so I'd encourage somebody to get that help because it is very overwhelming. And we have these high expectations and then we don't know, or then they're not working and then we're frustrated and then we do nothing.
Well, and for me, nutrition is particularly frustrating because there's so much misinformation or stuff that's just plain wrong that you can't. I mean, the worst thing that can happen in a relationship, the worst thing that can happen in a relationship is that you haven't clarified your expectations.
Yeah.
Because both of you can be working really hard to meet an expectation that is diametrically opposed to the other person's expectation and vice versa. So you're both working really hard to do what you think you're supposed to be doing, and it's not going to be working at all because the expectations haven't been managed in the relationship. To me, that is so very true of nutrition. There is so much garbage information out.
Yeah.
If I could wave my hand and say, if you listen to this podcast, don't ever read a headline about nutrition. Just don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because
it's paid. Who knows
the
if
chances
it's true.
that U.S. News and World Report or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, God forbid the New York Times or NPR or any
saw something on that.
That the possibility that they're going to give you good nutritional advice or good nutritional information is passingly small, essentially zero.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's where when you're listening to podcasts like this or somewhere else, it's to get the points out, or maybe I shouldn't say the podcast, but you're doing your research. What are just the little things you can work on? So with protein, you've already recapped that. But what do we not need to do with protein, right? Like the puffed protein chips. One, they're gross, I think. But that's like nothing. They're just fillers and yuck. The soy burgers? No, like the fake burgers.
Well, those are the
sources of protein, I'd say. No.
That's the biggest proof for me that you ought to be eating meat is even the people who want to make fake meat, the first thing they try to do is make it taste like meat. Well, how about this?
Yeah.
Just eat the meat.
It's easier.
Okay, so we're talking about mastering macros, and we've talked about how important protein is. Okay?
Yes.
Back to Ben Bickman, because this is kind of the way it goes to me.
Okay.
He says prioritize protein, and the second thing he says is don't fear fat.
Yes.
So the three macros, which I don't think we've ever said, the three macros are basically protein, fat, and carbohydrates.
Yes.
So we've talked extensively about protein because if you're going to master your macros, you're going to master those macronutrients. Protein is the place that you start.
Mm-hmm.
The second place I think that you go is doing smart things with fat. Do you agree?
Sure. Yes. Fat is like your hormone highway. And here's what so we did a whole episode on this, on how fat was so feared, right? Everything was low fat in the 90s. And it's been really hard for people to come out of that. I have said, even, I won't say who, but some people really close to me in my life are still low fat milk, low fat, or no fat yogurt, which is full of chemicals.
No fat yogurt. Let's take all of the nutritional value of all these foods and throw it away.
All the nutritional value taken out. Well, chemicals added in.
They take the nutritional value out. They add in the chemicals, and by taking out the fat, the bioavailability of whatever scant nutritional value is left is now no longer bioavailable because your body can't use it.
Yes. So your fat is like insulation, right? It's the insulator. It's the insulation of your body. It keeps you warm. It keeps things going. It keeps things safe. But it's also like, I brought another, think of an envelope and a card. I don't know who I got this Valentine's card for. It says, "You're awesome." But I'm sorry, whoever didn't get this. I was looking at my cards to bring it. But your fat is like the envelope. Okay. It's what goes in here, the messengers. Right, the messages. And so the fat is the envelope. The fat's the carrier to take all the messages, the hormones through your body to help with the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are so crucial. You've got to have fat as that carrier. And if we don't have enough fat, especially with women, we can have issues like PCOS, really tough premenstrual syndrome issues. Too much cortisol, too much estrogen. It's fat around our midsection. We don't understand why. Our brain isn't working efficiently because we're not having the good fats. So definitely important to have the fats. It's the quality of fats that I really care about.
And there's something I just want to throw in here that we'll talk about at length at some point, but it's something you throw in there. The fat is the messenger.
Yes.
The fat is the envelope that carries the information.
Yes.
And that information flows through your bloodstream to get to where it goes to make all of these incredibly important things that happen in your body happen. And it requires the fat to do that.
Yes.
And those little envelopes are called cholesterol.
Yes, which is...
And we'll have a whole discussion about all the demonization of cholesterol and statins and all that. But I just want to bring in there when we talk about, when you hear fat and you're talking about fat, remember that one of the most important components for that communication in the body to get the things that you need where they need to go, that cholesterol is the vehicle by which they get there.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah, it's the backbone we cannot make estrogen or steroid hormones, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, if we do not have enough fat and the cholesterol to make it. That all comes from our cholesterol. Why cholesterol was demonized is beyond me, which we did do a podcast a few times ago.
We've talked about it.
We'll do more, yes.
Well, we were talking just moments ago about it takes years. And I think the reason that you have to pay attention to this 4 years is it takes several years for you to begin to unlearn the things that, for 50 years, I was told fat is just bad. For 50 years. It takes a long time to undo that.
It really does, especially when you don't understand why do I need to do that. And you're already, because it's been so ingrained in your brain, you're already resistant to listen and understand even more or try it because it's hard. You're so used to saying no. And so it's doing this bad thing. So that's a very good point. So if you're feeling bad, your brain's not functioning, you're not sleeping well, same thing. It all comes back to are you getting enough fat?
You got to get enough protein to have the building blocks to stick in the envelopes of fat to move to the places that they need to go.
That's right.
So after you solve the protein problem, the next problem you need to solve is getting enough fat to move the information in that protein around the body.
Yes. Which I would say, a minimum 30% of your daily calories. If you're ketogenic, you're carnivore, that's going to be obviously a lot higher. That can be 70%, that can be 80%. Some people aren't trying to get nothing.
Some people are trying to get back in the day, when I started thinking about this stuff, and I was riding my bike a lot. A lot. I was putting probably 250 miles a week on a bicycle.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And 100 of that came during the week because it was 18 miles from my work to home. And my wife and I worked at the same place. We put the bike on the car in the morning, and then when it came time to go home, I would jump on the bike and head home, and she'd go get the boys from daycare and head home.
Okay.
And so real hilly, very difficult ride, 18 miles a day.
Nice.
And that was in the 90s, and you didn't eat fat. And I got to where it was difficult for me to move around because my bursa sacs around the joints were being depleted because I wasn't eating enough fat to get the bursa. For breakfast, I would have, like skim milk and cereal. And for lunch, I would have a boneless, skinless chicken breast and rice.
Oh yeah, there's nothing.
No fat. My fat intake was probably 10 or 12%, and my body just broke down.
Yep.
Because I didn't eat enough fat.
I was the same way. I would have. I always have tilapia, brown rice, green beans, maybe a couple eggs in the morning. I don't even know what I had for dinner. Chicken, vegetables.
Boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Nothing.
Well, you didn't. The skin. That's where all the fat is. You don't want
right.
Get those boneless,
skinless
skinless chicken breasts. And then the stuff that you have to put on them to give them any taste was artificial. It wasn't. It was always some kind. You certainly couldn't fry them in olive oil or something because oh my God.
Right.
So we talk about you prioritize the protein. Don't fear fat, and you want your fat. I try to get if I'm looking at my macros, I want my fat to be north of 70%.
Yep. Yeah, because you're following more.
Because I'm very much a carnivore, ketovore kind of thing. But the important component that you mentioned as we started talking about this is not just eating enough fat, which is a struggle for some people to get their mind around that you should never, ever, ever buy skim milk. You should never buy fat-free nothing ever because if they take the fat out, the way they make it taste better is they put sugar in it, which is going to kill you dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Did you watch the Paramount series Landman?
No. Okay.
He went through a whole deal about there's a whole subplot that goes through Paramount Landman about sugar and not eating sugar. It was very interesting to me, and we can talk about it I don't want.
I'll watch it
I don't
first.
want to. I don't want
I'll
to
watch it and we'll.
I don't
we'll
want us. I don't want us to get in the ditch behind this. But it's interesting to see Taylor Sheridan, who has had Yellowstone and now he's got Landman. You're starting to see chinks in the armor of these gated institutional narratives about how we should do things.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched Yellowstone. There was a character in Yellowstone that was a vegan, and Kevin Costner multiple times lit them up about, you don't want to kill cows. Do you understand what a monoculture agriculture does? How many voles and moles and birds and how many animals have to die to feed you your quinoa?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which is an interesting take that now it's become interesting for those things about environmentalism and nutrition and sugar to be questioned in the mainstream popular things. It's interesting to see those things.
Okay. I've been wanting to watch Yellowstone because I heard now they have the 2 sequels out of in the 1900s. I don't know what it's called.
At 1923,
I don't know.
there's several of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I tried not to, but I still got us down the rabbit hole.
I gotta write that down.
You shouldn't eat the fat-free stuff. You need to eat fat, but the kind of fat that you take in, you got to be at least 30%. Well, let's talk about that. Let's before we get a little bit further about what kinds of fats. Let's talk about that amount of fat. If I eat 30% of my calories from. Let's start with protein. Okay, even with me on the high end of the protein thing. Okay, we're saying 150 grams of protein. That's 600 calories.
Mm-hmm. So why he's getting that is there's 4 grams in protein. So yeah, yep.
So it's got 600 calories of protein. I don't want to eat more than 10 to 12 grams of carbs a day, which is another 40 calories. So I'm at 650 calories, and I've had all the protein I need and all the carbohydrates I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many grams of fat do I need to make up that? And we'll make it easy. Let's say I'm at 650 calories, and I want to, 1,000 calories of fat is essentially 100 grams of fat, 110 grams of fat.
Mm-hmm.
It's 110 grams of fat, which is significantly higher than 30%. So when you say 30%, when you're mastering your macros and you got the protein that you want, if you're at 30% fat, really what does that leave you with how many carbohydrates you have to eat?
Depends. I don't know. I wouldn't have somebody as low, but I would say on that, but you could do the zone, right? So that was a big thing back in the day, 40, 30, 30, right? And you might have it at 40% protein, 30% fat, 30% carbohydrates. Some people that might work for. But normally I would recommend a little bit higher fat, lower carbs. It depends where somebody's at. Especially with women, sometimes,
especially where they're starting and
yeah.
Okay, so we agree that fat needs to be a lot higher than people are afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
That 30% is great. I bet it's a great place to start.
Mm-hmm. Great place to start, yeah.
So what fats should you be eating, and what fats should you avoid?
So the fats I would say to eat are anything like olive oil. Nuts are great. I really recommend almonds and walnuts are my top 2. Ooh, Brazil nuts are really great. They have a great source of selenium.
Macadamia nuts.
Macadamia nuts are great too. Selenium, zinc, all of that plays into thyroid it's a precursor with thyroid, which goes into our protein intake. You need those. I'm not a big fan of the milk, but any cheese and dairy, if you are not sensitive to it and you are having a good source, 100% that stuff needs to be organic. That can play into your fat for sure, but do make sure that it's full fat. The things I would not recommend are seed oils, any seed oils, which I know people have hopefully heard more than ever now. The average American gets about 20% seed oils in their diet.
20% of the total diet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And which is, we should have 0.
Oh,
the canola
absolutely.
oil,
Well, when you said
soybean.
20%, I was like 20% of the calories, or no, but 20% of their total diet. 20% of their total diet is seed oils. Well, and one of the things that,
and I think that's more. I've just read that before, 20%, but I think it's more with all the processed
well,
foods.
it has to be.
Yeah, I mean,
well, and here again, when you read, if you read it, it's a headline is wrong.
That's right.
If you don't eat things out of bags and boxes with barcodes,
mm-hmm.
how do you get seed oils in your diet?
Well, if you're cooking with it, is really
only
the main
if you're
thing.
cooking with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making dressings with it, or we don't have any seed oils in our house.
Yeah.
Period. We just don't. I think that may be a bigger change for people than not fearing the oil, because they were taught to fear the oil. Fats are bad, except for seed oil fats.
Yeah.
So to me, the seed oil change for a lot of people is an even bigger step than the fat, because then what a little amount of fat they were allowing themselves were the wrong kinds of fats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even, I mean, I had, my mom was over a little while ago, and she was like, oh my goodness, you're putting butter on the boys' bread, which I'm like, she's seen that before, but maybe it just like keyed in with her. I'm like, yes, Mom. Yes, it's grass-fed butter. But yes, it's great butter because it's good, a high-quality source of fat. And I always ask the kids, I have a 2- and a 4-year-old, what is this fat doing for us? What's butter doing for our brain? Or what's the fat in the butter doing? Hopefully I don't give them like food issues. But they say, they know. It's, oh my gosh, did I say that right? What is the fat doing in the butter? And they'll say right away, it goes to our brain. Because our brain wants to fuel off fat. It's just once it gets a little bit of that carbohydrate, it's like a cocaine pathway in our brain. And they're like, I want that instead.
Well, and that's why
that's
increasingly they're seeing that part of Alzheimer's is effectively metabolic resistance in the brain. That it becomes the brain's inability to effectively use carbohydrates for fuel, and they need ketones. They're seeing a lot of help for Alzheimer's and other dementia issues with exogenous ketones.
Interesting that it's are you saying exogenous in like taking a supplement form, or?
Yeah. They're supplementing with, well, because and I run into this. I ran into this with my stepfather last fall when we went over to see him. He was having not dementia, but just memory issues.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as sharp as he had always been. And the lady that was coming in, she, the first day we were there, she came in, she made him breakfast, and she made him a big bowl of oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, looking around of all the things that you want to feed somebody, first thing in the morning, oatmeal would be the last thing on the list.
Uh-huh.
So that was day one. Day two, I told her I got breakfast, and I made sausage and cheese omelet for him. It was better all day. Mm-hmm. Sausage and cheese omelet was just fundamentally better for him.
Yep.
So if you're eating the right things, if you're not cooking with seed oils, I think it's very difficult to get bad oils in.
Yeah.
If you're not cooking with seed oils.
Sure. I grew up having bread. My mom makes some amazing breads, but it was always a vegetable oil, right? It's cheap. It's easy. Olive oil in bread can really change the taste. It's a pretty highly more tasty. I don't know how to say that. More of a robust flavor. So a lot of people won't put that in breads. The cooking temperature is different. I think a lot of people, like when they cook like that, they cook breads or they cook pastries or cookies, it's always calling for that also. But yeah, I would get them out of the house. They're highly inflammatory. Your body doesn't know how to process them.
Well, and mold won't eat them.
Yeah, right.
We make smash burgers at my house a lot, and my daughter has to have a bun with the smash burgers, and we don't eat. Cindy and I don't eat buns. We each eat knife and fork. But Elena was there, and she really wanted a smash burger on a bun, so she went over to Brahms and got a package of buns. And I toasted them for her and did all the stuff, and she had a hamburger and she was happy. Well, the housekeeper the next day took that package of buns and put it in like the canister that we keep the low-carb tortillas in.
Yep. Okay.
And I quit eating low-carb tortillas because of, and we talked about that, is how much insulin response I saw on the constant glucose monitor for low-carb tortillas. So I quit eating low-carb tortillas. And so we didn't look in there. I mean, they were just in there.
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 weeks later, it was like 3 weeks later, went in there and pulled the buns out. They didn't have any mold on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you count that as food if it won't even mold?
Yes, it's like yes.
In 3 or 4 weeks.
I think, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but the same with those examples of people that will hold a McDonald's hamburger. I think I told you I found one under my brother's bed for years. Not even the change. It didn't even change. Just stayed.
It just
right
got dry.
there, no mold. Which is
It's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so we prioritize protein and we don't fear fat. And the way you master not fearing fat is eating those whole animal sources of fat, or not seed oil driven fat, but fruit or nut oil driven fat.
That's right.
Because nuts are fruits. Now, the idea behind this, let's talk briefly about the idea behind this. My understanding is, check me if I'm wrong, the reason that we don't want to eat seed oils is that plants can't run away, so plants create anti-nutrients and poisons to protect themselves.
You got it.
So the most valuable thing for plant reproduction, for a plant, the most valuable thing that it makes for its reproductive capacity is its seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is exactly how it propagates, is the seeds. So all of the bad chemicals and bad stuff that plants create, they go put in the seeds to keep birds and animals from eating them.
Yep.
So all the inflammatory stuff, all the anti-nutrient stuff, all the lectins, all the oxalates, all the bad stuff that you get from plants is concentrated in plant seeds.
I have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
So why are olive oils and coconut oils and the plant-based oils that aren't seed oils, like coconut oil, avocado oil, why aren't those bad? They're plant-based. They come off of plants. Seed oils are bad. Olive oil is good. Why is that?
You know, I don't know if I can answer that exactly, except for like a coconut oil. As far as the olive, I have to think about that as I'm talking. But your coconut oil is full of, it's the makeup of the fatty acids. So it has medium chain triglycerides. And medium chain triglycerides are the fatty acids that your brain wants to feed off of. It loves it. That's like the opposite part of, like, you know, I say that when we eat sugar, our brain goes through the same medical pathways of cocaine. I feel like that with the medium chain triglycerides, your brain loves it. It fuels off of it. It thinks better. It's the opposite, but it's in the good way of that it craves it.
And see, and for me, it's that evolutionarily, if you're eating the fruits, the plant's done with the fruits. An apple, the fruits that carry seeds, like apples, have apple seeds in them.
Mm-hmm.
But olives and olive oil, the part that's it's the flesh of that olive that you make into olive oil, not the seed.
Oh, there you go. Because it's pressed.
It is the flesh of the avocado that you make the oil from, not the avocado seed.
Yep.
It's the nutrients around the seed that if you plant an avocado, you know, remember when you were in grade school and you put the seed in and you put the bean in there, and basically the sprout comes up and it uses the energy stored in the rest of the flesh of that thing that you plant to get started before its roots go out. So what we're using on those oils that are plant-based oils that are okay are the flesh around those seeds that were there to give nutrients to the seed, and we're okay eating those because we're not using the seeds.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
And this will be another time because I know we're probably crunching on time, but It is important too to look at the olive oil that you're getting.
Oh, absolutely.
There can be olive oil, like if it's sourcing from different areas, it's Italy and Sweden. I don't know, I'm making that up. That means it's being taken in all different areas. There are some things out there that it can be actually more canola or soybean oil with the olives. So
and you've mentioned this before, and I will reiterate what your advice is. Read the label.
Yes, extra virgin olive oil that is organic. Because if it's not organic, well, then it's sprayed with all those pesticides.
Well, organic
and
just read the label. We got on the, we're going to take out seed oils, and then you can't buy, at that time, you couldn't buy mayonnaise that wasn't seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
Every mayonnaise you pick up, soybean oil, cottonseed oil.
Still hard to find.
Oil that's going to kill you. So Hellman's or Kraft, I don't remember which. I went in and I was looking and it said, mayonnaise made with olive oil.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, score! And I grab it and I get it home and I look, and olive oil is like the third ingredient.
Uh-huh.
There's cottonseed oil, there's soybean oil, and then there's olive oil. Yeah, yes, it was made with olive oil in the same way that a hamburger is made with salt. Mm-hmm. It's a minor ingredient. So read those labels, kids, because that olive oil, the thing that's in an olive oil thing, and olive oil is prominently displayed, when you go back and read it and find out that it's 80% olive oil and 20% canola, that's probably not what you should be eating.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so we've talked about mastering macros. We've talked about prioritize protein. Talked about don't fear the fat. We've talked about that it's the right kind of fat, that you need to cut out seed oils, that animal-based fats are certainly I'm putting words in your mouth here, but animal-based fats are by far the most healthy fats that you can consume.
100%. If you can do grass-fed, do grass-fed.
And if it's grass-fed or pasture-raised fats, that animal fats, whether it's pork fat, beef fat, chicken fat, any kind of animal-based fats, especially organically raised, are going to be by far the superior fats that you need to take, and you need to get at least 30% of your total calories from those.
Yes.
I would say at least 50%.
Yes.
Okay, so we've gone through those first steps of managing macros, and we're probably well over an hour at this point. So the third macro is carbohydrates, and we have lots to say about carbohydrates. So how about we'll do that next time?
I think that's a good idea. Really quick, because I don't want to end this on the fats without saying, do make sure you're getting your omega-3s in. And there's the omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids. And a lot of times we've talked about this. We have a 20-to-1 ratio, and it should be a 1-to-1 of omega-6 versus omega-3. I won't go into that too much right now, but your omega-3 fatty acids are the good fats, the healthy fats.
Well, do you need omega-6s at all?
I think your body, I don't know if it's like an essential thing. I
don't know that you. I
don't think you really need them.
We'll get back to that, and we'll look that up and come back to it.
Yeah,
because I don't think you need omega-6s at all.
I think it's just part of the backbone in your fats. Your fats, the way the chemical structure is made up.
Any fat. If you look at beef tallow, grass-fed, farm-raised, absolute perfect beef tallow has omega-6s in it.
Yeah, so I don't know that.
It's not like seed oils, which are 75 or 80% omega-6, but
sure.
almost any fat that you can name has a mixture of omega-6 and omega-3.
Yeah, I think to answer, I'll still look that up because I want to be able to answer it better, but I think you're just likely going to get it because of the diglycerides, triglycerides, monoglycerides, the different backbones.
It's just a component of fats.
It's already
regardless
in there.
of the kind of fat. It's the percentage, it's the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in the individual fats.
So if you're not eating a fish, salmon, a fatty fish, like a salmon's a great one to get 2 times a week. I always recommend taking omega-3 fatty acid. The source of that is very important. We can get into that another day, but I just didn't want to end without saying that because that's very important.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's one more. That's what we talked about, how you supplement protein.
Yes.
Is it reasonable to think that it's a good idea to supplement fats, especially on the omega-3 side?
Supplement, yes. Yeah. Like, is it reasonable to take a omega-3 fatty acid? Absolutely.
Take an omega-3, a krill oil.
I think of it, yeah. So I give my kiddos and myself cod liver oil. One of the best things that you could do, great vitamin A content. Obviously, you need to watch the content of that because it is fat soluble, so your body doesn't pee that out. Or I think just omega-3 fatty acid is great. There are some brands that I would recommend. I don't know if I'm allowed to say them on here. Is that a thing?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
well, it's a matter of read the label and get organically sourced things and read the labels. I mean, and the reason that I asked the question is for one of the primary protective measures against concussion is omega-3 acids.
Yeah.
That is the best way to prevent brain injury. And if you get a concussion, that is the best way to treat it.
Yeah.
And I mean, serious krill oil supplement. When my daughter was cheerleading, I went down the concussion rabbit hole because she got a concussion in cheerleading. I mean, like bad enough that it stay in a dark room for 3 days and don't listen to anything. And I mean,
my goodness.
a serious concussion.
Oh, that's scary.
And put her on a concussion protocol and read a lot from Case Western and some other places. And so from that day forward, as long as she was cheerleading, we had her supplement with krill oil to make sure that you had a supplementation of omega-3s because it is protective against brain injury and healing if you have one.
Very interesting. I was agreeing with you earlier, but in my mind, I really was like, I didn't know that. That makes me feel real good considering what happened this week.
I'm just saying.
With my
That's what made me think of it. So next time we'll talk about carbohydrates.
Yes.
And what kind of carbohydrates are good and what kind of carbohydrates are bad and how we can put all of this. We'll try to wrap this up the second half next week of how do you master the macros to start improving your health and seeing better outcomes.
Love it.
All right.
That's great. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, y'all.